So the final two Elite Eight games just took place about an hour ago. Now we know the final four teams going to San Antonio for next Saturday. We got Auburn taking on Florida, and we got Duke taking on Houston. So I'm going to go team by team on the best players, what they do so well, what got them to the final four, and what their matchup against the other team is going to look like. And I know this hasn't been the most exciting tournament like normal. There's not a real Cinderella, and there's not one at all anymore. In fact, there's all one seeds in the Final Four. First time it's happened since 2008. And in my opinion, for my money, this is the most stacked Final Four of all time. And I'm so excited for it. So, first, Duke. I would rate them the number one team in the tournament and the number one team left out of these Final Four and the best team overall. They are led by the best player in college basketball and soon to be number one overall pick, Cooper Flagg. But the thing is, he is as much of a facilitator as anyone and always gets his teammates involved, averaging over 4 assists a game in this tournament. Kon Knueppel is also must-watch TV, a 40% three-point shooter. Tyrese Proctor has exploded like we have been waiting on him to do the past 2 or 3 years. He's always been a breakout candidate for the Blue Devils, and he has had an elite tournament, averaging 17 points a game and has been shooting very well. Kaman Malawach is a stud. He's the 5 man on this team, and he can rebound. He blocks shots. He's a high flyer. He's just awesome to watch. He has been exploding on draft boards. Definitely could have a long NBA career. Underrated players on this Duke team is Malik Brown, who is just a leader and a warrior for this team. He was on Syracuse last year, and a transfer for college basketball fans, we knew it would pay off for Duke. We knew it would be a big deal. But the average fan probably had no idea who Malik Brown was and what he would mean to this Duke team. But he is I wouldn't say the glue because I'd say that's Cooper Flagg, but man, he does everything for this team. What he does won't show up on stat sheets, but he is an engine for this group. Other players like Sion James is a really good ball handler for this team. Mason Gillis seems like he's been around for 8 years. He was on Purdue the last 2 or 3 years with Zach Edey. Also, Caleb Foster has been awesome for Duke, and he was really good the other night against Alabama. So Jon Scheyer is the head coach at Duke. This is his 3rd year there after taking over for Coach K when he retired, and he has been awesome. Made it to the round of 32 his first year, Elite Eight last year before losing to DJ Burns in that NC State Cinderella squad. But now he has Duke in the Final Four and in prime position to win it all in his 3rd year. Duke will be playing the Houston Cougars, who just dismantled Tennessee just a few hours ago in the Elite Eight. They got up 29-8 at one point, and it was never close. Very ugly. And that's what Houston does. In my opinion, Houston is the best coach team in America. And what Kelvin Sampson does every single year, it seems like, is just ridiculous. We all know Houston defends like nobody else, but this year they have more of an offense than ever. LJ Cryer, the Baylor transfer, has been tremendous and is definitely their best shot creator. But Milo Zuzan has come alive this season. He averages 12, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists for the Cougars. He can go get a bucket when he needs to, but he also just makes the right play. Then for the bigs, you have Emmanuel Sharp, who can be a sharpshooter, if you will. He takes some wild threes, but he can hit them. He hit 3 threes late in the Tennessee game today. An unstoppable force in J'Wan Roberts, who is such a classic big man. He hits hook shots, post-ups, floaters, back to the basket type of looks. He is so fun to watch, and he's just a bully down low. Joseph Tugler, one of the best defenders in college basketball, especially one of the best big man defenders. So for this Duke versus Houston matchup, it's going to be a rock fight. I really think so. I think it'll be in the 60s, maybe in the low 70s, but I would be shocked if it's a blowout either way. Houston is going to make every ball handler on Duke's job difficult. They're going to throw 2 or 3 bodies at Cooper Flagg. It's going to be J'Wan Roberts, Emmanuel Sharp, JoJo Tugler, if they can stay in front of him. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can and how Cooper Flagg goes about it and how he creates shots for his team and how he facilitates, because that is what he does. But I would bet on Duke to get it done. The coaching matchup between Jon Scheyer and Kelvin Sampson will be like solving a chemistry equation. But yeah, I think Duke has just enough to move on and get them 1 game closer to winning a national title. On the other side, we got Florida versus Auburn. First off, Florida, this team has everything. If you watch their Elite Eight game versus Texas Tech on Saturday, they somehow escaped that one. And just like the one before, the UConn game, not the Maryland game. The UConn game, they just escaped it thanks to Walter Clayton shots down the stretch. And guess who came up big again in this one? Walter freaking Clayton Jr. He is probably the best point guard in the sport. He averages 18, 4, and 4. And him and Thomas Hoff, they had 2 huge threes each. and it was just ridiculous down the stretch. Florida is led by 3 guards with Walter Clayton, Will Richard, and Elijah Martin. Then it moves on to the ridiculous size with Alex Condon, who is averaging 11, 8, and a block and a half. Condon is 6'11", while Hoff, who I just talked about earlier, is 6'9". But this team just has it all, and honestly, they could be the most fun team to watch in college basketball. Now, Florida will be playing Auburn, who they dominated early February this season, and it gave the Tigers their first SEC loss and their first loss in general for more than 2 months. Todd Golden, Florida's head coach, he was on Bruce Pearl's coaching staff back in 2016, so this is going to be a fun one between those two who know each other so well. As for Auburn, Auburn was the best team in the country pretty much all season until the final few weeks where they lost 3 out of the last 4 before still getting the #1 overall seed in the tournament. Think about that. The Tigers lost 3 of their last 4 and still had the best resume in college basketball. They're led by Johni Broome, who is definitely dealing with some injuries. I mean, he even went to the locker room versus Michigan State today, and he had a wrist injury, went to the locker room, came back out like Paul Pierce in the finals. He hit a three-pointer his first touch, and he looks okay. He's just been amazing, though. He's the best player in college basketball, unless you want to say Cooper Flagg. This Auburn team just has so many knockdown shooters and shot creators, which is also what makes Johni Broome so good. He's a very good facilitator and amazing passer. Todd Pettiford, who doesn't even start on this team, is their lead guard, and when he gets going, he's the most electric player in the country. The final 8 minutes he had versus Michigan was unreal. Go back and watch that. It was some of the craziest shot making you will see. Chad Baker-Mazara, who is the X factor on this team, can hit some of the craziest shots you've ever seen, but he can also hurt his team by playing very emotional. Miles Kelly is an excellent three-point shooter and can shoot in every spot on the court. Denver Jones, he's probably the most underrated player on this team, but he is their best defender. Then you have Dylan Cardwell, who is just a monster on the boards, right there with Chaney Johnson, who can definitely stretch the floor. The size in this matchup, as well as the shot creation and shot making in this ball game, will be insane to watch. I know we already saw this matchup in February, but it will for sure be different. I'm excited to watch Walter Clayton go up against Denver Jones, Chad Baker-Mazara. They're going to throw 2 or 3 bodies at him. Also, who guards Johni Broome, especially if he's fully healthy? Him going against Hoff or Condon. It's going to be really interesting, and I'd like to see what Todd Golden does to shake things up on Broome. My pick depends on Broome's health for sure, but I think I'm going to take the Gators to beat Auburn again and go to the national championship. So yeah, that's all I got, guys. I got Florida versus Duke in the national championship game. As chalky as you can get, to be honest, and that's how my bracket looks, and that's how this whole tournament's been, but hopefully it's going to make a Final Four that is unforgettable. Follow me on TikTok and Twitter. I post every day on both of those. I'll put my links right up here on the screen. I appreciate y'all for watching.